Okay, he hit us. We're live now on YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
Howdy.
You said you got trailers playing already, Brian?
Yeah, we got the barn playing right now. We got one more after this.
Ray just put us up on YouTube, so we're on there now.
Cool.
So now the countdown begins.
Oh, yeah. And then I got an intro video after the third trailer. Then we should be golden.
Is that a thing?
All right, I do
Just
it.
puff the chest out.
Yeah,
Pre-game
10:31
exercise.
I'm all in.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Absolute Vodka.
You missed it, Mike. Brian was in rare form last week.
Might be a rare form tonight.
You realize that Absolute is a Swedish product, right?
It's a what? Swedish product?
Yes.
Nice.
Absolute vodka is a Swedish product.
Now,
They're a
Swedish
huge supporter of the LGBT
manufactured
community.
in Sweden.
It's manufactured in Sweden, yeah.
Wow, the Swedish fish, the candy, is that actually made in Sweden?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if that was just like a marketing ploy, because I
No.
like candy from Sweden. So
Are you referring to the salty ones or the sweet ones?
the sweet ones.
Both are made in Sweden, so.
Okay,
But salty ones doesn't go so well in the US, do they?
I've never been to see. I didn't know they had them.
We're very much into salty candy over here.
Interesting.
Yeah. Must be because we're so sweet, so we need to even the levels.
Oh
No.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
just-
All right, good evening, everybody, and what the fuck? Okay. Advanced audio properties, mic, it's not on. What is going on with this device? It decided to do that today.
Yeah, I had that experience in my concert. 15.
All right, there we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our THS Lives episode here tonight. My name is Brian Enright. You can follow me on Facebook at Brian Enright, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Horror Jew. And boy, oh boy, do we have a great show for you tonight. Up next, we have Jared Letourneau. Jared, good evening.
Good evening, Brian, and all you boils and ghouls at home. You guys can find me on Facebook at Jared Letourneau, or I am on Twitter once a month at zombie_survivor. Great to be here. Back to you, Brian.
All right, Jared, one more time, because I don't know what's going on in the studio, but introduce yourself again.
Hey, Jared here. You guys can follow me on Facebook at Jared Letourneau, or if you guys follow me on Twitter at zombie_survivor. Back to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Jared. Sorry to do that to you twice, but you know you still love me, and I know that. Up next, we have our up and coming director of the hit movie I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday and the Pink Panther Part 2. Here he is, Mike Lombardo. Mike, good evening.
Howdy, folks. You can find me at the behind the dumpster at McDonald's on Fruitville Pike, and also realsplatter.com. That's real with 2 E's, like a reel of film. Also facebook.com/realsplatter. And next weekend, you can find me at the Crimson Screens Horror Film Festival in South Carolina, where we're playing I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. Back to you, Brian.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. And of course, we have the guest of the evening. It may be 9 p.m. here on the East Coast, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, but it certainly is 3 a.m. in Sweden. Here he is, synthwave artist Anders Ekstrom, a.k.a. Damocles. Good evening, or should I say good morning?
Well, it's not already morning, but, you know, it's coming there. Good morning, everyone. This is Anders talking from Sweden. But if you rather, this is Anders from Sweden talking. Hello, everybody.
All right.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for joining us. You know, I know that we've talked a few years ago. You know, when I was discovering synthwave, and I listened to the Bring Out the Funk album, and the title track song, Bring Out the Funk. I'm like, oh my God, this song is fire. And I think I messaged you that on Facebook. I stalked to find out who you were, and I messaged you saying your song is fire, and you're really appreciative, and we've just been in touch ever since then.
Yep.
So
I recognize good taste when I see it, you know.
That's a far better story than how I met Brian, which was on Grindr. So
God damn you, Mike! You were not supposed to tell the world that, but it's okay.
We already knew.
Yeah, we already knew, but no one knows about the pineapple.
It's been out there. The pineapples is on YouTube. I mean, like.
So you've been you've been a DJ since the late 70s, 1979, and all through the 80s. And
Yep.
Tell us about what made you get started in it. And I've heard that you're like an amazing DJ, record scratcher, and you won competitions. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, you've had a pretty full career of doing this music, and now you're in the synthwave.
Yep. Many questions, but to start answering them, I guess love for music was the answer to a question you probably already forgot that you asked me. Yes, I started as a DJ at 16 years old back in 79. Very early on, I incorporated synthesizers in my act, drum machines and stuff like that. So nobody understood shit what I was doing, but I enjoyed it. And then CDs came around, and I didn't really like that. So I left it and became a piano bar player instead. And after that, I rearranged my career totally and became a programmer and had a web agency and what have you. And then synthwave came along, and I sort of, are people like starting to listening to this shit again? I can do that. No, actually, the thing is, I've been making that music ever since the 80s because I totally love the sound of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when everybody has stopped making synthwave, I'll still be doing it. You know, sitting in the home, you know, for old people with a drum machine.
That would be a sight.
Yeah.
Nurse, I need another pill.
And the 808.
But your whole life has led you up to this point where like you have a younger generation getting into that retro sound again, and now it's like
lives. It's like your whole career has been building up to the moment where you were on the Horror Syndicate Lives podcast.
Let me tell you a story, because what you were saying actually adds up with a small anecdote from my life. Because my father, never understanding what a DJ was, asked me, "So when are you going to get a real job?" And he said, I said, if everything fails, I'll go over to Hollywood and I'll roar a horror film producer in the face, because I can do a nasty monster sound. You want to hear it?
I do.
Yes.
And he said, and then he said, and this is quite memorable, Hollywood, there are only movie stars living in Hollywood. Now, this was his reality, like movie stars kind of growing like apples on a tree in Hollywood. But so it actually led up to this moment, didn't it? I mean, like, I'm here talking to the Hollywood people in the horror industry, and I roared them in the face.
That's true.
Yeah. Show me the money.
Welcome to the bottom of the barrel, my friend.
But here you are now you have like a whole like genre dedicated to that old like pop techno. I know people like confuse synthwave with EDM, and it's kind of like its own different monster when you think about it, because synthwave has that more retro sounding like analog synthesizers and keyboards, where EDM is a little more like is more digital, sounding with like modern pop sounds. And now you're in a time where people are looking back and are like, oh my God, the Terminator soundtrack was amazing. Or, oh my God, like all these Sylvester Stallone movies in the 80s, like their soundtracks are amazing. We want more of this. And the sounds that you're delivering, it sounds just like a lost 80s record.
It is actually recorded it in the 80s, just dusted it off and sold it as new. No, but anyway, yeah, people won't know the difference. Just buy it. Yeah, I just did it. Yeah. Anyways, actually, I've been taking out tracks from the 80s, listening to it, and it sounds crap in comparison to what I can do today. So it's not really true that what I do now sounds like it was taken from the 80s. It sounds like something that was made in the 80s, but was polished up to today's standard. In a way, because like, in the 80s, I had one drum machine, one bass line, and one synthesizer. Today, I have a rack of 1 billion synthesizers and drum machines all together, pumping out the sound.
The possibilities are endless.
Yes.
And now you have shows such as Stranger Things, which is heavily synthwave inspired with their opening track and their closing track. Do you feel like that the time that we're in now is the best time for that type of sound, or you don't think it's going to fade? Do you? You think it's going to like fade out as it did in the 80s going into the 90s with that terrible techno sound?
Everything goes in waves, and having been in the music business, I've seen all these, waves come, the 60s, returning the 70s, returning what have you. And yes, it will fade, but there will still be people loving it, as there are still people loving the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, still today, right? And what we're seeing is actually evolution in the area. So yes, there will be a 90s, but maybe a brilliant new 90s popping up from synthwave as the root. Music is evolution.
No, absolutely, I agree. Oops, someone's got to go.
Heaven forbid when disco comes back.
It is coming back, so you better brace yourself. I mean, like, get those white trousers out and start boogieing down.
Oh man!
Yeah. I just came from a Boogie Wonderland party. I mean, like, I'm not shitting you. It's here, and it's not bad. I mean, like, disco, as with the synth pop era, the thing that differs it from today's music is that it was so much music in it, so much melody, so much chorus stuff going on, everything, and that is what I think people crave, even though they might not know it. Diversity, interesting things happening in music. I mean, like, today, most songs are made by 3 chords that are repeated in the chorus as well as in the verse. And yes, it's music, but it's very sterile.
Yeah. And that's what separates the synthwave genre from everything else, because I think people are finally fed up with listening to the music of today, like all the pop tunes just sounding the same, especially and I'm not going to be the kind of guy that discriminates people's taste in genres. I did that a couple of years ago, and let's just say that I've had people rebuttal immensely against me and call me names for it because I didn't like Rihanna's Work song. So I'm not even going to step into what I think is considered music and what I think is not considered music. But I know that synthwave, especially here in the horror community, is booming. Like, it's booming up a storm. And I know that we're talking about that's the sound coming back. The sound's coming back. You made a concept song, actually a song for, or was it an album for Xenophobia, which was a dedication to aliens.
Yeah. being one myself, I felt compelled to do it. No, but anyways, I mean, like, I've seen all the Alien movies, and I was there on the premiere for the first episode, as it were. And even though nobody can hear you scream in space, people could be heard screaming in the theater. It was terrifying back then, not so terrifying today, but I mean, like, I think it's a bit Hitchcock over it, because the less you see of the monster, the more you see it in your mind, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
More terrifying than what your mind can make up.
Yeah. So I absolutely love those films. And when I was invited to be on that album, I was very pleased. So I made my contribution with that. You know, that beeping unit they had, you know, proximity sensor, like, you know, and you could hear it going up in frequency, like, dit, 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 and they knew the monsters were close, but not where they were, right? So my track is called Proximity Suspense, because it's that very feeling that you get, you know, when you know the monsters are closing up, but you don't really know what they look like, but they're horrible.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I love the Alien movies.
Awkward silence moment.
Yeah, the Alien movies are one of my favorite franchises, except for Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I was very not happy with those.
I'm still trying to digest them. I mean, like, at some point, I guess I will have done it, but no, they could have done better.
I think Ridley Scott digested them already and then shat them back out on the screen.
Yeah. I think her cat did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying maybe Ridley Scott should have focused on Blade Runner?
Blade Runner, now that's a movie. That's absolutely fantastic.
Well, Alien Covenant, it felt like he was just pissed that he didn't do the Blade Runner remake himself, because that's pretty much what it was. Then they shoehorned a xenomorph into it for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, but the xenomorph was, like, you know, a bit freakish because it was so stupidly looking. I mean, like, what did they do? They had, like, what, $1 gazillion, and this is what they made.
Yep.
Shame on you guys. Yeah.
Well, it's also it's supposed to be the origin story of the xenomorph, and the origin story was 8 seconds long. David said, "Oh, I made them." The end. Now that that's settled.
And then, you know, the sequel to Prometheus. So we finally come to those aliens' home world, and they're gone.
Yeah, they're all
spoilers.
That pissed me off so bad.
Yeah.
Not good. I was like, well, they just disregarded the plot of the other movie because they didn't feel like, it's fine.
Yeah, gone. Yeah, finished.
What was the main character from Prometheus, the woman? They didn't get her back for the sequel, so she dies off screen between movies. I'm like, okay.
Old age, probably. Old age.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Anders, what's your favorite scary movie?
That's a very good question. There's so many of them. But actually, now this is pretty weird, because some years back I was watching Signs, you know, the Mel Gibson film.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a quite shitty film. Not much going on. But I'm coming to the real pickle of it, because the thing is, for 2 weeks I was scared of the dark. And I've been watching very scary movies that hasn't touched my spine whatsoever. But Signs made me look behind every door, light up every light in the basement, what have you, for 2 weeks. I laughed at myself doing it, but I had to do it. And I had that run for your life feeling in my spine and everything. And I couldn't, for my life, understand why. Because, as I said, it wasn't much to that movie. But evidently there was something, because it triggered all those nerves in my body. When it comes to scary movies, they're all scary in different levels, aren't they? The first version of The Thing really got in there. They find a UFO buried in the ice on South Pole or what have you, and this alien life form comes up. And the thing that scared me, I think, when I saw it was like, okay, so we have an alien life form, and it's intelligent, but not like us. Mm-hmm. It's beyond what we can comprehend, and it's superior to us. And that's a bit scary. I suppose an ant feels like that just before the boot hits, And that leads me to another scary movie way back when, when we were at home chopping stone tablets, back in the Viking age. The monster from the Black Lagoon, I think it's called. It's a black and white creature. Yeah, the creature from the Black Lagoon. It's a black and white movie. And it scared me in the same way, because that was also an intelligent being, but not intelligent as we are, but in a totally alien kind of way. So scary can be so many different things, I think. I mean, then you have the splatter movies, where the scary comes from, intestines smithering your face, what have you. But I think Hitchcock also, he was the master. As I said before, the less you see of the monster, the more scary it becomes. Today, we get everything in such detail so fast that it's not all that scary anymore.
Now, when you watched John Carpenter's The Thing, you mentioned earlier, were you able to understand Norwegian when in the very beginning of the movie when the guy was explaining that the dog was an alien?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they were speaking Norwegian. Many Hollywood films have people who think they can speak Norwegian or Swedish because they are ancestors to Swedish or Norwegian people. But that sounds in our ears very ridiculous. But in that movie, they're actually speaking Norwegian. So it's cool.
It worked really well for American audiences, because American audiences, when we watched it, we didn't understand what was going on. And then when you find out years and years and years later that when they were speaking Norwegian, they pretty much spoiled the movie. Like, without, you didn't have to watch the rest of it.
Did that affect your enjoyment of the movie, having the plot told you in the opening 2 minutes?
I can't recall it like that. I mean, he's only speaking fractions of sentences. So no, I wouldn't say that this is a spoiler at all, really. Okay. You need to see the movie to get the story complete, even though we understand Norwegian. I don't know about the Norwegians, though, because as you might know, Swedish people are so much more superior when it comes to intellect and everything. Even though the Norwegians have the oil.
Shade. Yeah. So much shade being thrown right now. Damn you, Norwegians. The Swedes will rise again.
I lived in Norway for 3.5 years and trying to explain to them that when they got the country back, the land, it wasn't including the oil in the water. But they don't really want to listen to that. I mean, I can't understand for the world why. I mean, like, I could respect a man who had it all if he gave it all to me.
Oh, see, that's at least your worries. Here in the U.S., we have Trump, so be thankful.
You think that is kind of limited to the U.S.? Here in the world, we have Trump.
But moving along. I know that
and I can't see how we move along from that.
I mean, maybe if you play a tune for us.
Yeah, we were talking about playing live on the show. I'm sorry to say that there are no real technical possibilities to do it with a really good sound, but still, I mean, like, playing live on the show is pretty cool, right? So we need to do it. So even though my guitar kind of backfired on me in my concert in Vienna, it's actually back to life now, working, hopefully. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, jinxing it. Dropping in, with yeah, guitar. Oh, it's so sexy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 3 o'clock in the morning in Sweden.
Yes.
This is the first time on the Horror Syndicate Lives that a man, but that's not true.
So, now there you go. Isn't that brilliant? It's my shortest synthwave ever. What did you think? I mean,
it was so nuanced, and
I've compiled every track I ever made into one note. And Frank Zappa would be proud, of my superior intellect. Anyways, this is my probably most iconic track. It's called Ozone Surfing. It's about a guy, surfing the ozone layer. That's a bit chill, isn't it?
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, I have to switch over. Hang about. I'll do that. A little dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I understand if there's audio issues, but I was able to hear everything, and it sounds better live. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, and the dance was like memorable.
Yeah, either to hold up a lighter or lick something.
I already
Why not both? That was Very awesome. And so we're able to, because I know you have a lot of stuff on Spotify. I pretty much showed you my entire synthwave playlist, and you know, I heard good things from you, Anders, that you thoroughly enjoyed my playlist because I had every album that you put on Spotify on that playlist. But we can find more of your music on the SoundCloud. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's so much more there because only a fraction of it is released on Spotify. But every collaboration, everything that I make that is not included on any album at all is out there on SoundCloud. So if you enjoy my music, there is an abundance of my music there. So, yeah.
A cornucopia, one could say.
Yeah. So it's soundcloud.com/Damocles with a K. You know, instead of... I suppose the name is poorly chosen because many of you in America think it's Damocles. But it's not. It is not. It's Damocles. At least in
Get it
English.
right, America. Get it right.
Yeah, but in Swedish it's Damocles. So, I mean, like, it's a stupid name. But it's mine. And there's a story, actually, why I have that name. Do you know it? No? Back in 97.
I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, and back in 97, all the .com names were taken. And I was sitting there one night, you know, thinking, there must be something available. And I was trying out for hours the oddest words, and they were already taken. And for some reason, I entered the word Damocles with a K, and it was available. So I bought that domain without knowing why in 97. And I thought, so why did I do this? I don't know. I just did it. And I had this, you know, small dispute with myself. But we sorted it out. I don't have any problems now. Anyways, so later on, I needed a name for my act, as it were. And I realized I already had this com domain, so why not? So that's why I'm Damocles. And that's all because of a computer game on the Atari way back when called the Damocles Files. You can look it up under Ancient Facts next to Vikings.
I'm sure it was better than E.T. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
E.T. is by far the worst computer game ever made, and they at Atari they couldn't agree more. They've actually confessed to the fact in the story about Atari as to how horrible the game actually was. But then again, hats off for the guy who had like 2 minutes to make it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd go on and say the worst game I've ever played wasn't E.T., but a PC game called Zombieville that came out in about 97. It was released unfinished. And it was in its beta form, so you can't even finish the game. And there's only the company that released it does not exist. It was a made-up name. And it's I have it over here. It's very strange. I only met one person that ever played it aside from me, and it was a fucking nightmare of a game. Horrible.
was it like a porno?
No, it was unfortunately not.
No, it was a porno.
A fucking nightmare. I get confused here in Sweden. You have to explain yourself when you use the word.
Or like the Atari game Custer's Revenge would be a fucking nightmare.
Oh,
Actually, tell you what about Custer. This is you're too young to know this, but since I'm ancient, I'll tell you. The president, I won't name him, of the United States wanted to have a historical painting for a very big, event, including all the major people from the world, princes, kings, and maybe synth pop artists, what have you. So he wanted this artist, very famous one, I won't name him, to paint a historical painting. It was a very, very, kind of hush-hush project. And the artist was like, hidden away for half a year doing this enormous painting. And people were there when it should be uncovered, And the thing that the president had wanted him to paint was the last thoughts of Custer. The last thoughts of Custer, right? And so the president, before the uncovering, he tells everybody, yes, now I will reveal this very, very well kept secret. This is the last thoughts of Custer. And the painting is revealed. I mean, like, this is a 10 by 15 meter painting, right? You know, and it's uncovered. And there is Jesus on a cross, you know, looking down at thousands of fucking Indians on the ground. You know, they're actually doing it, you know, copulating. So it becomes a bit awkward silence at this point. And then finally, the president, I won't name him, his name was Trump, he said, so what have you done? What is this? Well, you wanted me to paint the last thoughts of Custer, and it must have been, Jesus Christ, look at all those fucking Indians.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's your history, it's not mine.
I love Swedish history because it's like there's a lot of shit going on. We're not getting involved, but you can come here.
Actually, ours, in a very wide sense, is yours when it comes to history, because there's so many Swedes that actually moved over there to Minnesota, to say the least. So, I mean, like, chances are that you have some Swedish Viking DNA roaming around somewhere in the system.
What's in
Got a lot
Minnesota?
of Swedish DNA in my living room right now.
There you go.
I don't want to know more.
What's in Minnesota? Why do Swedes go to Minnesota?
I don't know. It was probably the easiest to pronounce, Minnesota. I don't know. Lots of Swedes ended up in Minnesota for some reason. I don't know why. It was so long ago, I don't remember.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
If you could tour with any synthwave artist for the next 5 years, who would you choose?
That's a long time.
And would you collaborate with them?
During the tour, no, we would sit in each corner, just looking at each other angrily. No collaboration would ever occur. That's a very difficult question, man. I mean, like, wow. There are so many brilliant synthwave artists. 5 years is a very long time. Can we reduce it maybe to 5 days?
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I might suggest the Spice Girls.
They are not synthwave artists, are they?
They're not. Poor choice in words.
You should read up on the topic before going to the show. Yeah. But I could do it with them. Yes, I could be on a tour, you know, for 5 days with them. Yes, I could do. Can you rig it? No.
Mike can. Mike's
Make it
Mike,
happen.
he's an up and coming, successful director.
I mean, I
So
don't want
he-
to brag, but I've got connections to the Spice Girls. You know,
Cool.
what was it? Old Spice.
Old
Harry-
Spice Girls.
Harry Spice. Yep.
That's a brilliant new name. Old Spice Girls. Yeah.
The spice that time travels, you know, all that stuff. Like, you know,
Spice, the final frontier.
Like Child Spice.
Wow. I didn't realize it, but this show could actually get worse.
Yeah. Oh man, you should see when I'm intoxicated.
Well, I'm still waiting for you to order me pizza. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's an inside joke for you. You don't know why you outsiders looking in, right? But there is some sense to what I just said. You will just never know what it was.
If you watched last week's episode, you will know.
Oh well, so you actually think they will?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Anders, what's your
but-
favorite horror, like your favorite synthwave horror score for a movie?
I don't think it might be considered horror, but Escape from New York is brilliant. I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Horror. Well, that's a difficult question. But for me, yeah, Escape from New York would be a good answer. It's a bit horror in it, kind of on the edge somewhere. Maybe a monster standing behind a house that you never get to see because it's a Hitchcock monster.
That's my second favorite Carpenter movie. The first one is going to be The Thing, but I think he collaborated with Ennio Morricone for that one. So it wasn't really synthwave. It was just more like synthesizer and like orchestral.
But for a Carpenter, he's quite good at musical instruments, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, his son actually does synthwave.
Cody,
So,
absolutely. I don't know. He's brilliant. We've actually been on the same album together, Cody and I, so I almost know him. Yeah, never met, but yeah, he's brilliant. Like father, like son. So it's pretty cool to see them on tour and everything together.
Yeah, I took my wife. We actually went to New York City at the PlayStation Theater when John Carpenter was touring his first concept album, The Lost Themes. And within the Lost Themes, he also played a bunch of his classic themes, and he did a version of Christine, which was never heard in the movie, and now it's you can listen to it. It's available now on Spotify. But let me just tell you something. When he ended, that was his encore. When he ended with Christine, like the whole crowd was just rocking out, and I can't even describe. I think maybe we were all drunk or stoned when we were at that point of the encore, but it was just that moment. And Cody Carpenter was actually on there playing lead keys. Yeah. I mean, I don't think John Carpenter played most of the lead keys. I think he just played like the melodic tunes,
rhythm stuff.
Yeah, like he did like the melodies of like his like popular songs, and then he did like the chords for all of the Lost themes. But it was Cody who did all of like the solo sounds and everything like that.
Because he's got the young fingers.
You got the young fingers, yeah.
Tell you what happens when you get old is that you forget things. I tend to forget all my music and my lyrics in particular. I mean, like the concert I had in Vienna was difficult because I don't remember my own lyrics.
I liked it. I thought it was a great concert.
Tell you a secret though. In front of me there is a small iPad with the lyrics on it. Yeah. So
I watched your entire concert while I was taking a number 2, and I sat there for the longest time. I woke up and my legs were asleep. I had lost so much circulation in my legs, but I had to finish.
You sat on the shitter that long?
For a whole entire hour and 15 minutes.
He was mesmerized by your music, Anders.
I was.
On the shitter.
All I'm hearing is that my music is shit worthy.
No. If it was shit, I would have turned it off or watched Cobra Kai.
Didn't say shit. It said shit worthy.
What a man has to listen to when he's defecating is very important. You should be on.
It gives me a lot of time to myself. Like, it gives me a lot of personal time. I think that watching YouTube while you're taking a shit is like the most important thing in a man's life, because you have that quality time to yourself and you can really find something that you're interested in and invest in. So I'm so happy that it was your concert in Vienna, and I really enjoyed it. I absolutely did. I thought it was a great concert. You mentioned audio errors. I didn't really notice anything. I thought it was one hell of a show.
It was all fine, actually. 15 minutes prior to the show, my sound card died.
Okay,
that's not very good at all. So I did what you normally do, unplugged it and plugged it in, and it didn't work. So I brought a shorter USB cable, didn't work. So I restarted the computer, didn't work. So I reinstalled all the drivers, restarted the computer, and it worked, but only on the headphones outlet, not on the line. So very fast with a cable hooked into that outlet and into the mixer and straight on. So when you see that concert starting, that's about 2 seconds after I plugged that into the mixer, because there was no time for sound checking at all.
Jesus.
So yeah, and the second, brain freeze came on the second track, because that's when I was going to play the guitar. For some reason, this incident had made that particular instrument have a delay of 1 second. So you played one note, took 1 second before it came, and even though I'm a strange person, I really couldn't manage playing 1 second ahead of what should be heard. So I realized that the guitar is out. So I did a concert on the synths, but it was a shame. So prior to us going live today, you said that you would love to hear me play Bring Out the Funk. And during us speaking here, I've actually brought up the lyrics for it. And even though I don't have a microphone, he left. He left. So I was telling him this, and he left.
Take a shit while he listens to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the toilet now. Yeah, you can sing it now. Yeah. So if you like, I can actually perform your favorite track. That's called something, I think.
You know what? I absolutely appreciate it, and it is absolutely my favorite. It's the song that I heard on Spotify, and I'm like, oh my god, this shit is fire. And I don't reach out to a lot of artists.
Your shit was fire? Was that because of Taco Bell, or what you were listening to while you were taking?
We're talking Taco Bell shit, fire, yeah.
But I heard Damocles. It came up when I was on Spotify on my random list. I was listening to Breakbot, and I was listening to Kavinsky, and then here I get Damocles, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And I think it was something from Surfing the Ozone, and I wanted to know more about it. And then I saw the top song that everyone's listening to is Bring Out the Funk. And as soon as I played it and I heard that that beginning, I was just like, oh my god, it sounds great. And then the whole song just took me into a trance, and I didn't want it to be over. And thank God it's long enough where it doesn't just end right away. It just keeps going. And it from beginning to end, it has that perfect line of just, elevation to the climax to just, the ending. It was just that song. I'm just like, oh my God, if I could have this, if I could make a movie, this would be the song that opens up that movie. This is what I want. And I had to reach out to you. I'm just like, oh my God, your song is fire. One day if I make this movie, can we get together and, work on a contract to have your song featured in a movie? And I know that you were actually talking about composing a score for a movie. That's been one of your lifelong things.
I want to do that. I never had the opportunity to do it. I think that would be a fabulous challenge to do that to an actual movie, not just composing a standalone track, but composing it to the events in the movie. That would be brilliant. Mm-hmm. Tell you one thing about Bring Out the Funk. It features my daughter on the chorus, Lovisa. She's brilliant. Yeah, she's a brilliant singer. Although she hates my music, she did this probably, like a pity thing. She said at one point, "Dad, you must understand that your music is shit."
Oh my God!
I'm hoping that was a compliment of sorts. But anyways, so
I bet you she will change her tune if she said that in a room of a bunch of 30-year-old synthwave fans.
Yeah. Like she would be in the room with a 30-year-old. We're talking about a bomb. She's the bomb. But with a brilliant voice, that is actually featured on this track. And for the concert, I removed a lot of things, but she is still in parts of the track. So the female voice you will hear is actually my daughter, although she will never hear it because every time I try to play it when we have people around, she just said, "Stop! Don't play that."
Dad, stop!
Yeah.
Now, right behind you is your vinyl.
Yeah.
It's the vinyl for the new Bring Out the Funk album.
Oh, yes, you can buy this vinyl. Yes, for money. Yes, you pay money, you get vinyl. Ooh, nice story. This is ancient modern technology.
Who was that vinyl released with?
Say again. It was released on Keytar Records.
Keytar Records. Nice.
Yes. And the digital release is released on Future 80s Records. So there are two different labels releasing the same album, or rather EP, as it was. It's only 6 tracks. But vinyl is actually really cool. It's also released on
cassette.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, you have Bring Out the Funk on cassette?
Oh, yes.
Oh man. Where are my pencils at?
Look at that sexy guy there.
Look at that.
The
Come on, show that closer to the camera. Let's see that. Let's see that, Anders.
Actually, I can show it closer to the camera like that. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Sexy
Look at you.
guitar. Ooh.
He's not.
Look at that
not
man
licking the
playing the
guitar
guitar.
though on the picture. Ah.
Yeah. Actually, there are different cassettes with me on. Yeah, you know. Oh, I only lack the cassette tape to play them, but pretty cool. There are also, you know, CDs with me, you know, and there is also a stone tablet with my lyrics chopped into. No, there is not. Anyways,
When is the wax cylinder coming out?
that was released a long time before your parents were born. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I stole the music, so it was on the first wax roll. But anyways, do you want to hear the live version? I'll Bring Out the Funk.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do that.
All right, I'm gonna mute.
Yeah.
Go ahead and mute me.
Oh, it was very silent in my phones right now after all that muting going on. I'm supposing you're still there. Nod if you can hear me. Yeah, that's not a nod. There's confusion with language here. That's a thumbs up, not a nod. Yeah, that's a kind of narrow thing going on. Anyways, I'm just going to look it up. It was a lot more easy on the concert because I had it all set up. But I'm going to fix it for you. Hang us about. Hey, where is it? I kind of need the background. Yeah. So hang about. Just messing about with my computer. And there. Oh, lots of things going on right now. And there. And buried in 7 layers of catalogs. I found it now, so here it is. When you can feel it coming, your bass is pumping. Forgot the words, yeah. The floor is spilling, even though you're chilling, and the falls is spilling, and it's flowing through your vein. Move out, you can't stop stopping. You start, my daughter. Move out, your heart is pumping. You need to move your feet. Somebody said it's time. No, it's not that, you know. Yeah, it's like. Going for the move out part. Move out, you can't start stopping. You start to feel the heat. Move out, your heart is pumping. You need to move your feet. Somebody said it's time to bring out the fun. Everybody get grooving. It's really time for us to bring out the fun. People want to get moving. Somebody said it's time to bring out the fun. Everybody get moving. It's really time for us to bring out the fun. People want to get grooving. I can dig it. Somebody said it's time to bring out the fun. Everybody get grooving. It's really time for us to bring out the fun. People want to get grooving.
Woo! All right.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
There's that shit again. What's up with you guys? It's all about shit. What's happening, Trump America?
All right.
I didn't even make it to the bathroom during that. I just shit myself.
Yeah. Next album is going to, be called "People Shitting Themselves to My Music."
That's right.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of low frequencies going on.
Is it Yanni? Yeah. Is it Yanni or Laurel? I don't know.
You didn't know. Obviously, you haven't heard that myth about CIA, who allegedly developed a technology to make people shit themselves. No.
The brown sound.
Yeah, the brown sound. Yeah, certain very low frequencies note, that made people shit themselves. I have to include that on the next album in order to make things flow smoothly in the US. This album is shit for real. Yeah.
So is Bring Out the Funk your latest album?
Yes, it is. It's my latest album with only me on it, apart from my daughter. But I've been on other albums since, compilations like, the horror compilations and so forth. And there is an album coming out this summer on the 15th of July, I think, with me and two other guys. And these are very special people because Amplitude Problem is my former protege, as it were.
Oh,
I
cool.
taught him everything I know. That took about 2 minutes. And and then he moved over to the US, went to KIT in Los Angeles, Keyboard Institute of Technology, and he got a son, not from the Institute of Technology, but evidently his son has also entered the magical world of synthwave. So we are 3 generations making synthwave in our own right, His son is called Max James, and together we are now releasing an EP with 6 tracks of funk-inspired 80s synth music, as it were. It's called Descendants of Funk. So it's
cool.
three generations of composers making synthwave. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty rad.
One thing about generations and synthwave is that I think that synthwave, the entire movement, has brought us all together. Age is no longer... He left again. A lot of shit going on. Anyways, synthwave has brought us all together. It's not about age anymore. It's about us making the same kind of music. So we've all gathered around the fire of synthwave in the chilly night of reality, or what have you. And I think that's pretty cool. And it's also the very first time in history where artists globally gather around and make a genre happen. Mm-hmm. Because this didn't happen by itself. It happened by the collaboration of artists worldwide. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible. And that's what, brought me to liking synthwave. I remember growing up with the sounds of John Carpenter, Giorgio Moroder, and then, of course, having the video game consoles having that synthesizer sound. And, I wanted to see more of it as an adult. And we got stuck with this terrible type of electronic music during the late 90s and the early millennium. And it was just like we kept going through this, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And then EDM came out, and EDM was like, okay, we're taking a step in the right direction. But then MySpace bloomed like incredibly with artists such as Perturbator and Power Glove, and that's they started creating a whole synthwave scene. And I know that there's there's a documentary called Rises of Synths.
Yeah.
And that was basically about like how everything just formed on MySpace, and like you were saying, it was like all different types of ages getting together and creating this new concept. And it sucks to see that people are posting on social media saying that, oh, I'm so over synthwave because everyone else is doing it. I'm like, why? Now is the time to be about it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not new. I mean, it's always been. I listened to that band before they became famous. Yeah, I'm all over them now. So when things get close to mainstream, people kind of, don't feel it's cool anymore, what have you. But for me, it's very interesting that synthwave is getting closer to mainstream, because you can hear artists in mainstream actually showing, you know, the DNA from synthwave on their latest releases. And it's good for everyone, because everybody is talking about, oh, I can't make money off of this, and there aren't so many fans, or what have you. Mainstream is that very path where the fans are, so that's where we want to be. So if synthwave actually hits mainstream, that's what we want to do. However, there is one danger that people tend to not think about. If synthwave would hit mainstream, then we would see all the big stars doing synthwave, not opening the doors for us, you know, that made it kind of grow. So, I mean, like, I would say chill on this. Don't make it such a big deal. Continue making music for the sake of the music, not for the sake of what have you, shit in the toilet or whatever. I mean, like, I make music because I love making music, and I love that particular type of music, a particular sound. And I will continue doing it when there is no one left on the planet listening to it. Yeah.
It always makes me sad when I hear like you know, when you hear a band like from like the 60s, 70s, like say for instance like the Ramones. I'm not a huge Ramones fan guy because I wasn't around that type of genre growing up, but you hear the Ramones, and when they first came out, people were, you know, about them because it was they were speaking a language to the people who, you know, agreed with them and were living that lifestyle. But now you see these very same, or you hear these very same songs on like credit card commercials and toothpaste commercials. It's like, you know, is that hell for the musicians? I know it's a payoff. I know it means like selling out, but what is your intake on that? Like, would you like to have Bring Out the Funk featured on a credit card commercial?
Like, rather when you have a shit to it, or what do you mean?
Like, you know, yeah, whether I have a shit to it.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a privilege to be featured on a toothpaste commercial 30 years after the fact, because it means that you have become a part of the history we all share. And I think that life is all about the angle you choose to look at it from. I mean, like, we are living in the offended area, and everybody gets offended for not getting offended or what have you. I couldn't care less about all these people getting offended. I think they should grow up and get a life. But, I mean, like, I would be honored if my music in 20 or 30 years was featured on a toothpaste commercial.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that was like something that was considered acceptable, because you're the artist. I mean, as a fan, you know, fans can say anything. Fans can be like, "Oh my God, that was like my favorite song back in the day. Why are they using it for a toothpaste commercial?" But really, through the eyes of the artist, it's more like gratitude.
I think there are different stages that you go through as an artist. When I was a DJ, and I was a very technical DJ, I was extremely into, you know, the mixing, the turntablism all over. When I finally woke up, I realized that in an entire country, there will be maybe 10 people who actually understand what I'm doing. So when I stopped being a DJ, I started as a piano bar entertainer instead. And I decided I will give people what they want. So I started learning songs that I would be able to play a gazillion times without puking too much. You know, I've played The House of the Rising Sun about 10 billion times, and I still like the song. So, I mean, like, if
a house
in
New Orleans.
Yeah, exactly that one. So I mean, it's a matter of reaching to a level where you don't get offended by things happening in the world. It's not about you. It's about people not doing exactly like you want them to do things, but enjoy the ride, because if everybody would be like you, it would be such a boring world, wouldn't it? Especially you who just shit to my music. But I mean, like, the
Talking about
diversity.
you, Brian.
Yeah, the
I know you're
diversity.
talking about me, but I didn't think your music was compared to the Deuce I was dropping. Your music.
I mean, like, evidently, that was quite a deuce, wasn't it? I mean, like, you listened to the entire concert.
Well, let me just say
Well,
that maybe about 30 seconds of it was a Deuce, and then the rest of it was me in my comfort zone.
Kilometer long deuce.
It
I mean,
wasn't
like,
long.
never ending.
When you take a dump, do you consider the whole dump as that dump, or do you consider the 30 seconds that you took a dump, but the rest of the time taking your time on the toilet as a separate kind of thing? Like, do you just consider it and consolidate it as one giant thing? Because my poop was actually maybe about 30 seconds, if less, but my space and my privacy was about an hour and 15 minutes. Having
you
that
must
moment.
realize that in Sweden, or Sweden as we tend to call it, we don't have toilets. We poop while chopping ourselves to pieces in sword fights.
It's a lot of sword fights.
Yeah, and we do that in the nude because we saw the 300 and pretty cool, Spartans and everything. So even though we're freezing and the polar bears are running, trying to get us a snack, we do it, and the first one to poop is a lucky bastard because the other ones get chopped to pieces before having pooped, and that's a shitty death.
Very
It
shitty.
is. Now you have Netflix in Sweden, because I used to when I had Netflix, I still have Netflix, but when I was using my laptop, I could break into different regions, and I noticed that in Sweden has all of the Friday the 13th movies. Is that still a thing, or do you have Netflix? Or
actually, we've moved on to Saturday the 14th now, and that's a nice sequel. Yeah, we're looking forward to Sunday the 15th now. No, I haven't actually seen that. Maybe it was it Halloween? Maybe because during Halloween times we get a lot of feature, horror movies for the holidays. I suppose you do that too.
No, they don't play any of our movies. In fact, they do the exact opposite. During the holidays, where if you have a horror movie that takes place like on Halloween, like say if you have Halloween and it's coming to Halloween, they'll take it off of social media or the social websites where you can watch them and stream them, and they actually force you to go out and buy them. But a lot of the stores don't carry them, so you have to be a DVD collector in order to have it, pre Netflix or streaming. To enjoy the movie. So, and if you're able to find a holiday movie, they jack up the price. Like Hocus Pocus is like $25 during Halloween. Or if you go look for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it's like $15.
You should listen to a rap I made called Information Wants to Be Free. It's all about the music industry and the film industry and the way they kind of try to make money the old way, even though those days are gone, even though I still trying to cling to them with my 80s obsession. But anyways, I think it's kind of a good idea what they're doing still, because it's diabolical and it's a horrible thing to do. And Halloween is the right time to be diabolical and do horrible things.
Like chase after your sister for 4 movies.
No, chase after my daughter, say, please record one song more. No, I hate your music, Dad. You must realize your music is shit.
You know,
it turned out in this interview, yes, it was.
Her tune is going to change after, more and more people. Because you know what? The fact that you had me reaching out to you about Bring Out the Funk, I can't be the only person in the entire world that reached out to you after you released that track.
No, I mean, like every release I've made has made ripples, as it were. And the concert I did now in Vienna made ripples. So I got invited to Manchester to do this concert in September, and I also got a call from Germany and talked to a guy about making a small tour in Sweden, actually, Stockholm, Gothenburg, Malmö. So everything you do makes ripples. And I think success is like love. You can never find success, but you can make yourself available to it.
I like that. All
That's
right.
a good quote. I like that too.
Do you guys have any final questions you would like to ask Anders?
What's your favorite movie score? Doesn't have to be horror, just in general.
Star Wars.
Star Wars? Okay.
Episode 4. No doubt. I've actually seen that, or rather heard that, performed by a symphony orchestra. And it's so huge. It's so absolutely fabulous. So yes, that would be it. And I mean, like, there are so many, but the first that actually came to mind was Star Wars. It's one of the giants of our time.
Yeah, it's still timeless.
I've actually performed it in a church, on a church organ. It was a cathedral, and it was my daughter again. She was, I don't know what the word for that in English is. Confirmation, you know, when you confirm.
Yeah, you're right. It's confirmation.
Yeah, and I was
she embarrassed?
No, well, I think she was rather pleased because, well, I was one of the first parents to arrive because I drove my daughter there, and then the priest was a bit, worried, and I asked him, "What's going on?" Well, the thing is, we don't have a musician. Okay, so he's late? No, we don't have a musician. Period, at all. So I said, "Well, I'm a musician." Great, so you can play then? Yes, I can. 80s synthwave music. No, but anyways, so very, very fast, I rehearsed the psalms that they were going to sing, and also there was the question of, what kind of music they would want entering the church. Well, it must be something powerful, something cool, something what have you. And I said, well, what about Star Wars? Yes. So it was decided very swiftly, and I found myself with 5 keyboards and huge tubes, everything, in a cathedral, playing Star Wars. Yeah, I've done that. Cool.
Well, I'm sure it sounded delightful.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue. It was all blurred, but people were pleased or shocked. I don't know really. You just can't tell. But it was a lot more than total silence. That would have been the result of no musician at all.
So I do have one question for you before we cut out of here. I was digging deep into your discography, and I noticed that you did a song with John of the Shred.
Yes.
He's a very good guitar player. I've been following him for a while now, and I didn't realize you guys worked together.
He is a god on the guitar. He is absolutely fabulous. And he's also one of the guys behind Scythe Records that have made these horror, a few of these horror records that I'm on. Yes, we found ourselves collaborating on that track, and he really brought very nice power to it with his guitar. He is absolutely divine on that guitar.
Yes, he is. I follow him on Facebook, and he's always posting like little guitar riffs and little solo pieces and stuff, and he is an amazing guitar player.
Yeah. We've actually collaborated on another track that he made, where I added, melodies and played synths and stuff on top of it. So, yeah. Just have to find more time to do collaborations, especially with him, because he's such a fantastic musician and composer. He makes brilliant music. If you like horror music, I mean, like, you should absolutely tap into his DNA.
Yes. Cool.
All right. So this is the part where I start ending ourselves and you know, explaining where we're from. But before we do that, Anders, now please take the time to shamelessly promote yourself. Anything that is coming up, any touring, any albums, any songs that you have being produced, and where can we find you?
Well, as I said, on the 15th of July, there will be the Descendants of Funk album coming out. That'll be cool. And also, early fall, there will be an album with an Italian band called Batch Sound. It's a hip-hop band, very cool, electro kind of influenced hip-hop, where I do all the singing and rapping and scratching, which is pretty cool. Yeah. The album is called Feeling Fine. We were just signed, so release date has not been determined yet. And there is talk about a small tour in Sweden, Stockholm, Gothenburg, Malmö. And there is some, chatter about maybe Germany. I'm looking at, having concerts in Germany, Berlin, and Paris in France, London in England, and also Moscow. And after that, I'm ready to go to the US. All you people arranging stuff, you heard me. So just make me an offer that I cannot refuse. And I can't refuse so much. You really have to dig deep inside. And I'm also working on a solo album that is probably going to be a bit of what you dislike somewhat, because I'm tapping into the early years of house music, as you might have noticed with some of my later tracks, like Getting Me Some Attention, for example, is tapping into that early age of house, not the stereotype sterile house of today, but the early age where it was very much alive. I'm trying to get that feeling. So there's a lot of that going on, and funk is also a very big ingredient in what I'm doing, and electro is also there's going to be some kind of a mishmash of the different styles that I love, and there are lots of those.
Of the original stuff, original styles.
Yeah, I try to stay clear of all mindsets of what I'm supposed to be doing, and just let the music evolve by itself and get surprised when it's done, so as long as I'm doing that, the music keeps being real, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I absolutely love your stuff, and I know that we've been in contact with each other for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see more from you. And when you get a tour to the East Coast, please message me, and I will show up with your name tattooed to my chest. Well, temporary tattooed, not.
I would say
tattooed.
the arse would be a better place, because it's more related to the way you digest my music.
No, but I love your sound. I love your sound, Anders. I think that Damocles. Every time I hear your name, Damocles, I think of the sword of Damocles from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore your music, and you were such a great guest to have on tonight. So thank you. We need to do it again very soon. But my name is Brian Enright. You can follow me here on Facebook at Brian Enright. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Horror Jew. Up next, we have Jared Letourneau. Jared, where can we find you?
You guys can follow my face on Facebook at Jared Letourneau. I'm not going to bother spelling my long French name, but you guys can also follow me on Twitter at @zombie_survivor. Thanks, Anders, for joining us. I'm sorry you had to stay up so late. Hope you can get some sleep, buddy.
It's gone from late to early now, so it's no problem.
All right. Up next is Mike Lombardo. Mike.
Yes, it's me. You can find me at realsplatter.com. That's real with 2 E's, and facebook.com/realsplatter. You can also, as I said, harass me in person, give me death threats, marriage proposals, galleries, whatever you'd like, at the Crimson Screen Horror Film Festival in somewhere in South Carolina that escapes me at the moment, but that's next week. So you should be there and watch the movies because we might have cookies.
I hope you have a GPS so you can get there yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Just enter the word somewhere.
Yeah, and see where it takes us.
Talking about horror movies, like if you need horror sounds, I've got a bunch of them in my throat, as you might have heard there before. So it's a lot cheaper than trying to manufacture them, you know. So that's what I'm saying. I'll roar a producer in the face.
I love it. I love it. There is no Dana, only Zool.
You're gonna be there.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight on this live stream, and thank you very much, Anders. And you have a great rest of the night. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yep. Have a good night, everyone.
I'll be in your toilet whenever you need me.
All right. Make sure we're not on Facebook anymore.
Ray, if you're listening, you can kill us on YouTube.